bringing you another in our series of educational videos for Elections 2020. St. John Paul II has something very strong to say to us about elections and about the abortion issue. He wrote a document in 1995, therefore in 2020 it's 25 years old, called The Gospel of Life, one of his most important encyclicals, Evangelium Vitae. And he talks to us in that document about abortion, about other crimes that take human life. But he has a section in that document, number 20, where he describes what happens to a government, to a state, to a country when they legalize child killing by abortion. I want to read for you a significant portion of that 20th section of the Gospel of Life. Because when you hear this and when you consider what he is saying, you'll understand that abortion is not just one among many issues. The right to life is not just one among many rights. We all know that there are other rights. We all know that there are other issues. But brothers and sisters, the reason why there are other issues is precisely because of the right to life. Precisely because people have an inherent dignity which prevents any government from presuming it can kill them. It's precisely because of that sacred right to life that each person has that they also have their other rights. What happens to a government when it legalizes abortion? Some people think, well, it's just a bad policy. They made a mistake. It's a bad court decision. But, we've got to take the good with the bad, and we go on with life, and there's many other issues to consider. John Paul II didn't see it that way. He said that when a government legalizes the killing of children by abortion, it's no longer a democracy. It doesn't get to that point through democratic means. It might look like it's democratic means. In other words, there's a vote that's taken. There's a court decision that's issued by a legitimate court. It might look like it was a conclusion or a policy that was arrived at properly. But he says it's not proper because once you get to that conclusion, once a certain segment of people, in this case the people in the womb, are deprived of protection and, quote, legally killed, well then you no longer have a democracy. He said a democracy is supposed to be a common home. The fundamental principle is that everybody there is equal. Everyone there enjoys equal protection, whether they are strong or weak, whether they have these characteristics or lack those characteristics. He said it doesn't matter. What's supposed to be at the bedrock principle of civilization, the bedrock foundation of any state, is this concept, this reality, that we're all equal, we're all recognized as such, and therefore we all have protection equally. We don't earn our protection, and government cannot take it away. Now, this is really very American. Because in our founding documents, don't we read that we have inalienable rights? The Declaration of Independence says we are given inalienable rights. Inalienable means they cannot be taken from us. They cannot be alienated from us. No one can take them away. And we cannot even alienate them from ourselves. We can't throw away our own right to life. It belongs to us just as much as our humanity belongs to us, and in fact, because our humanity belongs to us. And that's the point. The right to life was given to us by the same one who gave us our humanity, and that's why the Declaration of Independence says that we are given by our Creator these inalienable rights, starting with life. And that, the Declaration goes on to say, governments are instituted among men to secure these rights. Notice, the rights don't come from government. Government exists to secure these rights. What happens when government no longer secures the most fundamental right, which is the right to life. John Paul II says, number one, you don't have real democracy going on there. It's a caricature, a tragic caricature of legality. Number two, he says you have the disintegration of the state. Disintegration. He says, in fact, it becomes a tyrant state. Why a tyrant state? Because one portion of the people, the stronger, are killing another portion of the people, the weaker. That's tyranny, he says. These are strong words, but he uses them. I'm going to read you the quote. So a tragic caricature of legality, disintegration of the state, tyrant state, and then he says this is the death of true freedom. What an absolute opposite to what some people say about abortion, right? Candidates, the Democratic Party, they call it freedom. He says it's the death of true freedom. When you have some people in the state that no longer have the protection of their lives, how can that in any way, shape, or form be considered freedom? Let me read for you this quote then from John Paul II in the Gospel of Life. This view of freedom leads to a serious distortion of life in society. If the promotion of the self is understood in terms of absolute autonomy, people inevitably reach the point of rejecting one another. Everyone else is considered an enemy from whom one has to defend oneself. In this way, any reference to common values and to a truth absolutely binding on everyone is lost. And social life ventures onto the shifting sands of complete relativism. At that point, everything is negotiable, everything is open to bargaining, even the first of the fundamental rights, the right to life. This is what is happening also at the level of politics and government. The original and inalienable right to life is questioned or denied on the basis of a parliamentary vote or the will of one part of the people, even if it is the majority. This is the sinister result of a relativism which reigns unopposed. The right ceases to be such because it is no longer firmly founded on the inviolable dignity of the person, but is made subject to the will of the stronger part. In this way, democracy, contradicting its own principles, effectively moves towards a form of totalitarianism. The state is no longer the common home where all can live together on the basis of principles of fundamental equality, but is transformed into a tyrant state, which arrogates to itself the right to dispose of the life of the weakest and most defenseless members. The appearance of the strictest respect for legality is maintained, at least when the laws permitting abortion and euthanasia are the result of a ballot in accordance with what are generally seen as the rules of democracy. Really, what we have here is only the tragic caricature of legality. The democratic ideal, which is only truly such when it acknowledges and safeguards the dignity of every human person, is betrayed in its very foundations. How is it still possible to speak of the dignity of every human person when the killing of the weakest and most innocent is permitted? In the name of what justice is the most unjust of discriminations practiced? Some individuals are held to be deserving of defense and others are denied that dignity. When this happens, the process leading to the breakdown of a genuinely human coexistence and the disintegration of the state itself has already begun. To claim the right to abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia, and to recognize that right in law means to attribute to human freedom a perverse and evil significance, that of an absolute power over others and against others. This is the death of true freedom. Truly, truly, I say to you, Everyone who commits sin is a slave to sin. Jesus' words in John 8:34. Hence we read in the Gospel of Life by St. John Paul II, paragraph 20. Those are powerful words. And the conclusion we draw from those words is this: legal abortion is not just one issue among many. In fact, it's not even enough to say that it's the most important issue. It is, in fact, the foundation, the heart, the soul of every issue. The right to life is the foundation. Abortion directly denies it, directly destroys it, and in destroying the right to life of these children in the womb and taking away protection from them, once again, you heard his words. John Paul II says you take the heart and soul out of the state itself. You grab the foundation away from democracy and civilization itself. The disintegration of the state itself has begun. Don't let anyone ever tell you that this is just one among many issues. Don't let anyone ever tell you that there's some other issue that's more important. If we can't elect people who get this issue right, we can't get anything else right. We'll be talking a lot more about that in these educational segments. But please take that 20th paragraph of Evangelium Vitae. Read it, reread it. Those of you who are clergy, preach on it. Those of you who are writers, write about it. If you are speakers, speak about it. And everyone, let's talk to our friends, our family, our neighbors about this critically important point. Thank you, St. John Paul II, for this teaching. May we all heed it and vote accordingly. This is Father Frank Pavone of Priests for Life.